What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the PICK6 podcast. It's your host, Musa here, man. I got my guys, Ty and Mike here, man. How y'all doing today?
Doing good. How about y'all?
Doing good.
Doing good, man. It's been a busy, productive day, man. But you know the grind doesn't stop. Got to get this good episodes out for people, man. We got a lot to talk about. I see here in the chat, Mike, you put up the updated points.
I did.
So I want everyone watching. If you're watching, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. Get us to 200 subs. We're about 8 subs away from 200. So please, man, tell a friend to tell a friend. But this comment here from Mike is the updated pick'em spreads for our PICK6 contest. Right now, going into the semifinals, I'm in the lead with 471 points. We have Clips in second place with 468. Mike has 431. Peso has 423 and Ty has 389. So this is the current standards going into this week's games, with the semifinals, I believe, is this week, as well as the NFL playoffs is this weekend. So got a lot of football to talk about. We got some key transfers we're going to touch base on. So first things first, man, we're going to get right into the transfers. There's some big names in the transfer portal, and they have made their new homes. And the first one we're going to start with is the Branch twins. I'm going to share my screen. Zachariah and Zion Branch. Wide receiver Zachariah. Zion is the safety. Have left USC and have committed to Georgia. I know this is a new prediction, but it's already been finalized. They have committed to the University of Georgia for the upcoming college football season. And Zachariah Branch last season for USC caught 47 passes for 503 yards. And a touchdown. He is going into his junior season, I believe. I'm not sure if he redshirted his second year. While his brother Zion, who's also a sophomore, had 15 solo tackles and 3 pass deflections. Ty and Mike, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on the Branch twins going into Georgia. I think this is a big pickup for Georgia, and I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on these two and how they can help Georgia potentially get back to the Natty next season.
I think it's perfect, not only for Georgia, but for them. I feel like if you were going to go anywhere else, I would try the SEC. In Georgia, the only question heading into next year is going to be quarterback. But I think they can easily – it's Georgia, so I've seen them turn people that don't even look like they play quarterback be their starting quarterback. So it doesn't matter there. To your point, the numbers they put up for USC didn't look good, at least for their potential. I believe they're going to double their numbers, and it's going to be crazy for Georgia. I love this pickup. Out of all the transfers that I've seen so far, this is the best one.
Yeah, this makes me wonder a little bit. Like, what's going on with USC? Is Jaden Mayava gonna still be the quarterback there next year?
Might not to cut you off, because there's one picture in transfer that I didn't put up here that won't be on screen. Is actually regarding USC. Washington's quarterback Sam Heward has transferred to USC. So I'll share his stats and things like that once you finish giving your thoughts on the Branch twins.
Yeah, because with Jaden Mayava, he's a decent quarterback. He was good at UNLV the year, because it was still in the current year, so I'll say last year. And when he took over from Miller Moss, he was pretty good this year. But I'm curious to see if he gets offers to go other places, or they're going to go with the kid you just mentioned from Washington, because I think this is a good move for Georgia because they need wide receivers. Bell over there this year, he was good, but he's not the typical like Lad McConkey type Georgia wide receiver that they have. And another question too with USC, and I've always thought this with Dion too. Is Lincoln Riley still going to be safe as the head coach over there? I don't know if he's going to be. I know they wanted Dion back in the day before he went to Colorado, and he went to Colorado instead so he could take over the program, but because he wouldn't have as much power at USC if he went there. So I'm curious to see if once they get through this recruiting cycle, if they hang on to Lincoln Riley or not, because he's had some underwhelming seasons over there, to say the least.
Yes, and I misspoke. My apologies for Sam Heward. He started off at Washington for 2 seasons, and he just finished his last season in 2023 at Cal Poly for the Mustangs. So he's a senior, 6'2" senior. His 2023 stats was 2,205 passing yards, 10 picks, 18 touchdowns. So he is going to be potentially the new starting quarterback at U.
Those 10 picks are at Cal Poly Tech?
Yes, the Cal Poly Mustangs.
Yeah, I don't got much faith in them doing anything if he had 10 picks in FCS.
So that is the potential starting quarterback at USC. So any final thoughts on the Branch Twins before we move on to the next transfer?
Not really. They're going to need a quarterback at Georgia, I think, though, because Stockton's going to need a hell of a lot of development after what we saw against Notre Dame last week.
Absolutely. Move on to the next name. And I've been practicing, so hopefully I get it right. Jaron Huey Sagapolete. I pronounced the last name wrong. It's okay. I practiced for like 2 seconds. So bear with me, people watching. But he was a former 5-star quarterback. He was originally going to go to Oregon. He is now set to transfer to his original commit back to California for the upcoming season. I don't know much about his game, but considering Cal getting a big 5-star quarterback like himself, this could be a huge, huge pickup for them. You got any thoughts on this upcoming quarterback?
I'm not surprised he flipped Oregon. That's all I'm gonna say. But honestly, I hope he does good, and I hope Cal does good. I believe he had other places to go as well. So I'm kind of surprised he going to Cal, but I mean, good for him. Good for Cal. It's pretty much like I said.
Yeah, he's a 6'2" quarterback. He also ran track and field as well. He did track and field. He did the shot put. And his football stats for his junior season was 3,757 yards with a touchdown interception ratio of 37-12 and completed 64% of his passes. This was when he was currently a 4-star recruit. I'm trying to find his stats for his senior year, but bear with me. But that's just some of the potential that he has and what he's bringing to Cal. I would love to see what else Cal can build around him and see what he can do in that conference.
One thing that I wonder too is because we all know Dylan Gabriel won't be back at Oregon. What's their plan at QB? Because I'm surprised he would want to go to another school because Oregon's been probably the most consistent school at producing NFL QBs recently out of any college. Like, not they've been the best QBs in the world, but they're still the ones that get at least 5 years of starting work. You don't really you haven't really had another school that has that consistency that Oregon has.
Yeah, that's true. Now that's it for at least for the screen share for commits, but I do have another commit I want to mention. And that is we have another commit from Texas A&M's former Texas A&M wide receiver Noah Thomas has now committed to the University of Georgia. Noah Thomas is going to be a senior this season. He put up 39 receptions for 574 yards, 8 touchdowns. He is a 6'6" wide receiver from Pearland, Texas. This is another big body receiver who you can pair up with the Branch brother on the opposite side of the field. What are you guys' thoughts on this Texas A&M receiver going to Georgia?
I mean, it's perfect because, like Mike said, Georgia needs the receivers, especially when you lose McConkey and Bach Bowers to the draft. We see how that did their offense. Um, so that everything's perfect, but the only question still stands at quarterback. We got to see what their decision is as quarterback. But if they can at least get a quarterback that can produce, stay healthy, uh, they can do what they literally just did this past season, and make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, another thing is too is it's great to add all these wide receivers, and even if they don't have a quarterback, they'll probably still be fine because yeah, Carson Beck's good, but I think we can all agree that he's nothing special, and they were able to win a lot of low scoring rock fights this year, like against Kentucky, Texas in the SEC championship game. And I know there was a few other ones in there. They were able to win the high scoring games, like against Georgia Tech, also. But yeah, I'm not too concerned about Georgia. They're usually a team that's carried by their defense and has a pretty solid offense. So even if the offense isn't up to per se the standards, I think you're going to see a lot of like I know we've gone through the transfer portal for the most part this year, but going into next year's like recruiting and transfer window, there's going to be a much more emphasis of bringing in talent to the SEC because they focus most of their like the overall conference, not just the schools, and focus eyes on basketball. And you see what SEC's doing in the college basketball world. They got probably one of the best conferences we've ever seen in college basketball this year. So those focuses are going to go back to football, I think, starting next year because you're starting to see the Big Ten overtake them now with the addition of the Pac-12 teams.
Absolutely. I love the pickup for Georgia. I believe they're gonna have Gunnar Stockton at quarterback, unless they're gonna get someone else that's younger and that's more who they feel is more established to start and take over the reins. But I think a spring off season for Gunnar Stockton with these weapons would be great for him. But there's only so many people that can get the ball, so that's something that worries me because everybody's not gonna be able to get touches. Everyone's not gonna be able to get the ball. So I'm interested to see what Kirby Smart's gonna be able to do with this group and find their niche and find their rhythm and see what it is that they can potentially bring to the forefront. But I'm excited for this pickup. Georgia, I feel like it's just rounding up pieces to try to go for the whole thing next year. Next thing we're going to touch base on is, of course, the recap of the quarterfinal games in the college football playoffs. It was some interesting games we got to see. I know for one thing, I've been waiting to talk about this because, and I wish Peso was here because we heard a lot about the SEC, including for myself, bias and how they're going to get teams in, and they did the right thing this year and how the first round went, teams are getting blown out. People's like, I don't know, SEC might get the whole conference in the way these other conference teams is looking. And then the big bad Georgia Bulldogs get shellacked by Notre Dame. The same Notre Dame that Cam Newton said nobody want to see. So I just want to start with that game first. Notre Dame routes Georgia 23-10. I know the final score doesn't seem like a routing, but if you watch that game, Notre Dame dominated that game from end to end. Obviously, for those who don't know, Carson Beck was out for the playoffs with an injured elbow. He had to require surgery, so he was not playing the backup for Georgia. Gunnar Stockton was in for this game, but Gunnar Stockton had completed 20 passes on 32 attempts for 234 yards and a touchdown. QBR was a 51. You had Riley Leonard, who was 15 for 24 with 90 yards and one touchdown. QBR was a 71. He didn't really have to do much on with his arm because he did a lot with his legs, carrying the ball 14 times for 80 yards. And Notre Dame wins the game 23-10. Ty and Mike, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on the Notre Dame Georgia game and some of your biggest takeaways from that game.
Other than the collision with the ref, that pretty much changed the game. It was I want to give Georgia the credit because they stayed in the game. The offense just couldn't produce. Stockton was just he was kind of doing what we all expected. He pretty much couldn't do anything. It was pretty much like a rookie quarterback in the NFL first start against a great pass rush. Like he's not gonna do anything with that. Notre Dame looked good. I'm surprised they made it to the Final Four, to be completely honest. But it honestly depends on who anyone else has. They probably look like one of the favorites, depending on if you like Ohio State to win the whole thing, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I'm not going to go as far as saying it was total shellacking like that because it was really lost in the last 2 minutes of the first half, I thought, because it was 6-3, I believe, before that, which would have been the same score as the SEC championship game going into half. But I believe there was about a minute 20 left on the clock, something like that. And Kirby's going to try to throw it with Gunnar Stockton, and he fumbles it. And it was, I believe, a 10-point swing at that point, at least. And that's where the game really changed. I thought, yes, they had showed points where they could possibly come back. But even going back to the 4th-and-1 play where Marcus Freeman had the punt team come on, calls them off, and gets them to go off sides. Marcus Freeman is – I don't want to hear about anything about Steve Sarkisian, Kirby Smart, any of these guys going to the NFL. Marcus Freeman is the best coach that is left out of these four, and he outcoached Kirby Smart in every which way. So I think it was a great job by Notre Dame. I think they're going to get past Penn State. It'll probably be a low-scoring game, but I just James Franklin versus Marcus Freeman. I'll take Marcus Freeman 10 times out of 10.
Two black head coaches going at it. I agree. He just was the better coach that night. His team was more prepared, and Gunnar just looked like a backup quarterback in college. The lights was too bright, in my opinion, for him. But I think this is a great experience for him because I think he's going to use this to his advantage come next season with the new additions, and I expect him to have a great season and ball out. Overall, though, I think Notre Dame goes to the Natty. I think we get a Notre Dame, Ohio State Natty. I feel like if anyone has a shot of beating Ohio State, it's Notre Dame. The problem is they're gonna be able to stop the passing game because I'm telling you right now, I know he's young, and we're gonna get to his game in a moment. But Jeremiah Smith, I know I talk about Ryan Williams in Alabama. Jeremiah Smith is a freak of nature. There's no coverage for it. It wasn't fair what he was doing, and we're gonna touch on that game next. But if he was to come out in this draft, he could argue to go number one with him and Travis. That's how good he is, and he probably can go out number one next year if he had the chance. But this stupid rule of playing 3 years in college is just—it's stupid to me. Some players don't need 3 years, but especially when it comes to certain running backs. Having said that, though, back to the Notre Dame game, I believe they did a lot of great work in the trenches. And this game was won to me in the trenches. Being able to run the ball for 154 yards on 37 carries against Georgia, albeit they had the one big run from Riley Leonard, they were still able to keep the time of possession game when the game was getting a little nip and tuck early in the first half and that second quarter, but before they kind of gave us the second score. But overall, I feel like Notre Dame was more prepared, like I said, and the better team won. And I love it for college football because now this whole SEC nonsense can be put to bed, at least for this season. There's a whole nother season to be proven, and we'll see what happens. But as of now, we're going to have a non-SEC champ, and I love it for the college game. Next game, we're gonna get right into Oregon and Ohio State.
That was
This
a
is
game.
what you call. One more time.
I said that was a game.
Oh, this was an ass whooping.
Yeah.
From this is what you call belt to asses. It was. I told you guys last time. I was hoping Oregon was gonna come out to prove that they did they have a fluke win, but they also said Ohio State gonna come out and prove why they should have never lost, and they did more than that. Ohio State came out guns blazing. Jeremiah Smith put up a Heisman-like performance in this game. Stats were Will Howard was 17 for 26, 319 yards passing, with 3 touchdowns, no picks. QBR was a 98. You also had Travion Henderson with 8 carries for 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Jeremiah Smith. Most of this was in the first half, you guys. Probably for those watching, most of this was in the first quarter, actually. Jeremiah Smith, 7 catches for 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did most of that work in the first quarter. So Oregon State routes Oregon 41-21, and they move on to the Final Four to play against Texas. But you guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this Oregon and Ohio State game, because there wasn't much to talk about. But Mike, if you would like, you can go.
Oh no, I was gonna say I can go. It's all good.
Oh, let's get it.
I'm not surprised Smith chewed that secondary. I was just surprised that Oregon couldn't do anything the whole first half. The game was pretty much over in the first half. I didn't bother watching the second half because there was no point. When you just get rocked and your teeth comes out, that's what happened to Oregon. And it goes to show you that most of the times these undefeated seasons in college don't mean anything. They completely, honestly, if you got rid of their rankings and you watched that game, you would think Ohio State was the number 1 ranked team, and Oregon was the lower seed. So all this seeding doesn't matter. But Oregon, I got nothing to say to them. Honestly, Dylan Gabriel did all he can, but it was pretty much too late at that point.
So much for going to Tennessee.
Yeah, that ain't happening. But it was one thing that I brought this up about a month ago, that we could see this teams that had that extra layoff that got the bye, it could really hurt them. I don't think it hurt them as bad per se, but definitely hurt some of these teams, the 3-4 week layoff, whatever it was, because we saw this in the MLB playoffs when they went to the new format for the wild card playoff, where they had like a 4-day gap if they went in between it, where teams are used to playing every day for 6 months. So I think you're going to see this maybe happen again next year, where these teams that get these buys not be able to perform at the same level they were before that. But as the years go on, they'll be able to adapt, because they'll know how to prepare with playing simulated games and all that stuff. But Oregon's defense was just non-existent, especially in the first half. Will Howard and Jeremiah Smith just tore them up. And one thing I want to shout out Michael Hawley in the area before he works at Boston Sports Night 98.5 sometimes. He said before this playoff start that Jeremiah Smith is going to be probably one of the best wide receivers of the decade to come out of the draft, before even the Tennessee game. And I don't follow Ohio State that closely, so my guess is people that really watch him knew this was going to happen. But one thing that I'm curious to see too is
Mecca went off too on them.
Yeah, Mecca Buka, yeah. And Ohio State's faced Tennessee. They faced Oregon. Not the best defenses, but still pretty good. And Oregon's, I don't even know if I want to say pretty good for Oregon, but now they're going up against Texas. If they put up another performance like this against Texas, and then either Notre Dame or Penn State, they have great defenses. be careful of Will Howard. Where while we talked about this maybe happening to Dylan Gabriel with his draft stock rising, I think you could see Will Howard's draft stock rise if he puts 2 more performances together like this. But short of that, I don't think it will too much. But I think you could see it rise a lot if that happens. But yeah, Ohio State looks unstoppable right now. Basically, that loss to Michigan is what woke them up, unless they were playing possum, like I said before, and they knew that they didn't want to have that layoff, which could be the case too. I don't know. But yeah, Oregon just didn't show up to play, and this wasn't even a game when we thought it was probably going to be the best game of the week.
Yeah. And also, speaking of potential draft spots, we're going to actually look at the updated mock draft now that the Tennessee Titans have the number 1 pick. And I got to see the first few, Mike, and it's completely different from what we had last week. But I agree with both points you guys made. This was just an old-fashioned ass whooping. Tell the kids to go outside, go take a switch, pick the best switch, come back inside, you know what to do. That's all that was to it. I love everything that Ohio State was able to do in that game. And I remember we talked about it weeks leading up to the potential playoff, that my biggest issue was between Ohio State and Oregon is who's going to show me that they actually won it. Because it's been so many times where they actually been there and they didn't show up. I'm like, and the bad part is, I've said it, if they have to match up earlier than the Natty game, someone's going to prove my point. And it was Oregon, and this is why I wasn't so high on them, especially to win the whole thing. So they had a phenomenal season though, nonetheless. Dylan Gabriel could probably go late first, maybe second round. Tez Johnson has declared for the draft. He's probably going to be one of the top receivers to go off the board early in this draft, and I love it. He's a great young man, and I love to see him go to an organization that's actually benefit him. I love him in Washington. Second, or even the Chargers second fiddle to McConkey or McLaurin. But if you put him in Dallas, even as much as I hate Dallas,
your microphone's muted.
oops.
Oh, it's muted again.
I'm excited to see where he ends up this upcoming draft. Nonetheless, this mic's so sensitive with the mute button. But we're gonna move to the next game. The next game, we're going to talk about Penn State and Boise State. This game was a lot closer than what the score was at the final game. Outside of the Texas and Arizona game we're going to touch base on, this was probably the most fun game to watch. Not fun game, but like decent game to watch. Obviously, the kicker missed some crucial kicks, and then at some point, Boise just couldn't recover, and Penn State handled their business. Drew Allure, who I heard his draft stock is rising. If he declares to come out this draft, he could probably go top 3 as far as quarterbacks go, or maybe even 1, from what I heard in the report. But he threw 13 completions for 25 attempts, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Katron Allen ran for 17 carries, so 134. And Tyler Warren had 6 catches for 63 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Boise State. Madsen had 304 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks for 23 for 35. Sean Genty, who I believe was maybe 6 to 20 yards away from breaking the record, 30 carries for 104 yards, no touchdowns, 3.5 average per carry. And they lose 31-14. Sean Genty's historic season comes to an end, and he has declared for the NFL draft. Fellas, I want to hear your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, okay. So I know you said the thing about Drew Allard there, possibly his stock rising, and they said in that tweet that you said because of how he could manipulate the pocket. Short of that, I really don't see much of him. I'm not going to lie. I think he's a 2nd to 3rd rounder at best. I know in a mock draft they saw the Dolphins picking him as a backup. As a Dolphins fan, I'm not going to lie. I don't want that. I don't think I don't think he's worth a 2nd or 3rd round pick.
We'll get Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, Dylan Gabe, I'm all for a lefty, man, to back him up. Hopefully, Tua doesn't get hurt, but that's sort of a dream at this point. I don't think he's proven otherwise. But back to this game. Yeah, Penn State's defense just overmatched Boise. I don't know why the coach for Boise didn't try to he had 3 weeks to get routes for Ashton Jeanty to get him the ball out in space so he doesn't have to go up against that Penn State defensive line. And he said, his quote was, our offensive line can go to war with anyone in the country. Well, clearly they can't. We saw that. And I know a lot of people saying, oh, Ashton Jeanty, he didn't do so well. And this is what happens when he goes against real competition. I can understand where people are coming from, but this is where I don't agree because they're saying it for the wrong reasons. They're saying it for the rushing yards. If you want to say, oh, because he fumbled twice, I can understand where you're coming from. But people are saying because of the rushing yards, and that's a load of shit. That's not the case. Now, is the gap between him and Scadaboo that big? You can make that argument, but I
gotta stop you real quick because I gotta give you your flowers. The gap is not that big between him and Scadaboo. I got it. After what I just seen Scadaboo do to Texas, we're gonna touch on that game afterwards. He made me he changed my mind, so I got to give you your flowers on that. The gap's not that big, but I agree with everything you just said with Ashton Jeanty and what people are trying to change this narrative. But I'll let you continue.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying Scadaboo's better. I'm just saying, like as I explained to you, I think off the stream. If I'm a GM and I got a first round pick and I can draft Jeanty, or I can fill another need and take Scadaboo in the second round, I'm going to fill the other need and take Scadaboo in the second round. That's all I'm going to do. But yeah, the game came right out the bat. The kicker missed it for Boise, and that sort of set the tone after that. And they were playing catch up and. Same thing with Maddox Batson. I know he threw 3 picks. 2 of them were just at the end where he was trying to throw anything. It's unfortunate that the kid's I think he's like 5'9", 5'10", because if he was taller, I think he'd have the tools to be a good NFL talent. But at that height, unless you have the athleticism of a Kyler Murray, you're not going to make it in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Real quick before Ty goes, that was some of the most nasty things that I heard people saying. Oh, all those yards he got was bull jive and all that. So I'm like, dude, y'all watch the game. He had no time to run through the gaps at all. Penn State's D line was getting through every second he got the ball. He had no wiggle room to work with. And if he had any time, those 30 carries for 104 probably goes to 104 to probably at least 128. Probably. Do they win the game? Maybe. But the way they were able to run the ball against Boise's defense, they probably still lose the game. It's just not 34-14. It's probably 31-14. It's probably 31-20. So I don't think it would have made much of a difference. And you know how high I was on Jeanty. I feel like he was going to have a Zeke moment. He probably could have, to your point, if the coach schemed up some other plays for him to get the ball in the passing game to open up the run game, but it's unfortunate. But Ty, what are your thoughts on the game?
I mean, you guys pretty much touched on it. The answer is Penn State's defense. When you pick off the quarterback 3 times, then you pretty much contain Ashton Jeanty. As far as a game changer that we know, shutting him down so he's not that productive and can change the game. Because honestly, if Jeanty gets rolling in the middle of the third quarter, this is a close game. They're down by 3 points. But they pretty much just shut them out the whole third quarter, pretty much for the rest of the game after that point. Their last time they scored, pretty much that was the best offense that we've seen from Boise State. Then the rest of the game was just Penn State's defense showing why they can be a sleeper out of these Final Four teams because they don't need Drew to really, pretty much go out there, throw for 300 yards. Yep. He doesn't have to do all that. Where some other teams have to rely on their quarterback for that. As long as their defense can shut down your star player, I mean, it's easy for them to win that game.
Yep, I agree. Congratulations to Penn State. They were the better team. They're moving on to the semifinals, the Final Four against Notre Dame. And the last game we're going to touch base on for the quarterfinals is the Arizona Texas game, the best game of the week, honestly, in my opinion. Texas were lucky, or Arizona State was robbed in this game, in my opinion. I hate the overtime rules, so we're going to start with that if you guys want. I think the overtime rules should favor how the NFL is. Kickoff, touchback if you want, or you can run it. You got to go down the distance, down the field to get the touchdown. If you don't, next team gets it, next score wins. Especially with college, the way some of these kickers kick the ball, you might need the touchdown to win the game. But I'll let it hear you guys' thoughts on the overtime situation. And for those watching, make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Tell a friend and tell a friend. We're 8 subscribers away from 200, so please spread the word. Let us get to 200, man. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, like I said in the private chat, I think the overtime is fine. The only tweak I would make it is the team that has possession last in the first overtime shouldn't start the second overtime, in my opinion, because we've seen it play an advantage in this game where pretty much Arizona State, you pretty much blinked for 1 second and they were down. And it literally came down to the last down pretty much for this season. So I don't think it's pretty much fair. And it could also be a disadvantage where, you just clawed your way back in that first overtime. Then pretty much you got to go back on offense and do it again and put up more points. So I like it being creative where both teams do have a chance. But that's the only thing I would change, honestly.
Mike, before you go, once you give your take on the overtime rules, you can go right into your thoughts on the game, and then Ty, you could go right after.
Oh, sounds good. I don't got much to say about the overtime. I like the college overtime rules. One thing, if they were to adopt the NFL rules, you got to adopt the postseason overtime rules. You can't roll with the regular season ones where first team to get a touchdown wins. And if the NFL was to adopt the college rules in the regular season, I'd be cool with it. But if you would have to move the ball the 50-yard line instead of the 25. But I don't really got an issue with the rules per se. And I know you mentioned, Ty, about the teams getting them back to back. The only reason why they're not going to change that, personally, I think, is because they consider it an advantage to know what their offense has to do when they elect to go on defense first. So they don't want to keep giving that advantage to the team on the coin toss. So my guess is they won't change that. But about the game itself, if anyone tells you that they have that they are in the analytics field or have a math degree from Arizona State or Texas, don't believe anything they say, because this game should not have gone to overtime in any which way. Because first off, out the gate, we have Arizona State who's electing not to kick field goals and go for it on fourth down. And then towards the end, they start changing their path of which way they're going to go, and then they start kicking field goals. You can do one or the other, but flip-flopping 90% of the time is not going to work out for you. And then you have Texas, on the other hand, that made it a 16-point game after they got the touchdown and kicked the PAT. There was no reason to kick a PAT in that spot, because I can tell you, I don't think Arizona State would have gone for 2 if they were down 15. And even if they were, you could have stopped it to stop it from going into overtime. And the way your offense was moving the ball at that point, go for the 2. Try to make it a 17-point 3-possession game. I don't know what the hell Sark was thinking there. I believe that was around the 13-minute mark of the fourth quarter when they got that touchdown. But it was a good comeback by Arizona State. Scatterbo, as I said on the last thing, he might have proved that he's the best running back in the nation. I'm still going to give Genty a slight edge just because I'm not going to overreact to the one game, but I think it's very close between the two of them. But I think Texas might, depend on if Ohio State's not at the same level that they have been playing at against Tennessee and Oregon, go back to what they were against Michigan. I think Texas has the chance to knock them off, but it's gonna come down to that Texas defense, because I think that defense has played it plays much better than Oregon or Tennessee has.
Yeah, no, I had the exact same thoughts. Honestly, it was pretty much like Dan Campbell was coaching Arizona State, because it's like you're gonna go for it on fourth when you don't need to. This is the time of the game you should go take those field goals. Then they settle for the field goal when they need to go for it on fourth down. But like you said, that extra point from Texas pretty much helped them get back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of knew heading into the overtime they weren't gonna win, because honestly, for all the dumb decisions, they didn't need they shouldn't have won to begin with. This game should have been over. Texas just let them come back. But Scottaboo, I said it when Musa first brought up the question. How big is the gap? And I thought the gap was that not that big. I did want to give Genty his flowers, but I thought pretty much Genty he has a chance to be that powerhouse running back, but Scottaboo, you can just plug him in. And that's what NFL teams are really going to want, because he can do whatever. So I'm glad that he made it a close game, because it made it enjoyable. But to go far, I don't think Texas got a chance against Ohio State, if I'm being completely honest, unless we see a complete opposite Ohio State team that we did versus Oregon. But I think Texas is finally gonna, do what we all expected, just crumble.
One thing too about Scottaboo that worries me too is I don't know if he was just sick, but the conditioning towards the end of the game. I don't know if they just from the games laying off too, but that's something to watch going into the NFL, because he's going to have to get have his conditioning improved from how he was struggling there at the end, puking on the sidelines.
Yeah, man. That was a great game. Texas definitely let them back in it to kind of piggyback on what everything you guys just said. I think Arizona should have won this game. They had a momentum. I agree with Ty. If they are going to keep the regular college football overtime rules, that the last team to get the ball shouldn't get the ball to start the next overtime. So, other than that, it was a great game. Scottaboo left everything out there. I believe he definitely helped his draft stock. I agree, Mike. If he was sick, that's one thing. But if not, he definitely got to touch back on that conditioning to get ready for the NFL. And I think he will adjust really well. He could fit on a lot of teams, especially because he can catch out the backfield. So I'm excited to see what he lands if he declares for the draft, and I'm hoping he doesn't get drafted, because I think he's at least the second best running back in this draft coming out. I think the running backs this draft is kind of deep. So there's at least 6, maybe 8 legit running backs that can do some damage depending on what system they go to. Having said that, we're gonna move right along into the show. We're gonna give our prediction. Actually, let me say the predictions for last. I'm going to go into the 2025 mock draft, and this is updated after the regular season has concluded. So I'm going to show the screen like we did last week. CBS Sports has an updated list with the Titans with the number 1 pick. Any guesses on who the number 1 pick is for the Titans?
I saw Fox's mock draft. It was no shock who they put at number 1.
Shador?
Of course. They don't want to lose the rights to those Colorado games. Can't piss off Dion now.
So you think Shador will be there?
No, not on the CBS one.
Yeah, not on the CBS.
Yeah.
I think it's Hunter.
I think it's Cam Ward. That's who I put my bet on before he went to favorite. I got him at plus 110, so I'm rocking with him.
Is my screen frozen on your end?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
What in the hell?
Just your camera's frozen. The rest of it's working good. The screen share is working fine.
I know. Let me stop screen sharing. Okay. Got hit the little Kim.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I looked up and I see my face like, I was like, what the hell? Get the hell out of me. I was like, what the fuck going on?
You can make that the thumbnail for the next show.
Oh man. All right, let me see if it's it did it again every time I screen share. Nah, the hell with this.
Yeah, there you
hell
go.
with this. This is nasty work. Okay, we're gonna move right along. So we have Mike saying it's gonna be Cam Ward because that's who he had a bet on, and Travis for Ty. The first pick for the Titans is Cam
You said it
Ward.
changed because it was T-Mac last week.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Cam Ward is the projected number one pick from CBS Sports to go to the Tennessee Titans. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
It's you can go, Ty.
I mean, Mike, you put money on it, so hey.
Yeah, I put money on it. No, you can go, Ty. My bad.
Yeah, it's honestly, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. They just want to replace Will Levis, so they have to take a quarterback. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they trade down. I think it's more right now. How I look at it, I think it's more likely they trade down than they do pick at one. But if they were to pick at one, it makes sense that they'll go Cam Ward.
Mike?
Yeah, I just bet them to make the pick. With them firing Rand Carthon the other day and keeping Ben Callahan, this is a pattern that they formed in Tennessee over the last 4 or 5 head coaches and GMs. They've all been forced marriages, and it looks like it's going to be another one. So I think they're going to pick Cam Ward. I think he'll definitely be an upgrade over Will Levis, and they got some good pieces there, but I don't know. The way that the organization's run, I don't have much faith in Tennessee. And Cam Ward, as I've said before, he's a 50-50 guy. He could be really good in this league. He could be a bust. It could go either way. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's all I'm going to say.
Fair enough. The next pick in the draft for the Cleveland Browns is who you guys think?
I got Hunter.
I mean, Browns kind of do need a quarterback as well. I think they said, well, it depends when this was updated because I believe Deshaun Watson's rehab is going wrong.
So I
he
believe
might.
This was updated on the 2nd or the 1st.
Oh, so yeah,
it was recent this week.
Travis Hunter, I believe.
Oh, I said this back in the spring that this could happen.
They have Shador Sanders going to the Cleveland Browns. I'm with Mike, shaking my head. No, please no.
I mean, to be honest, it sucks because they're either taking Shador or Travis. So you choose who you want to go to Cleveland. This, I don't know, unless Dion puts his foot down and make sure they don't go there. I believe they're going Sanders or Hunter. But now I'm leaning Sanders because it looks like Watson's missing the whole season next year. That might miss into training camp the season after. So
Mike's gonna get his wish because if he go to Cleveland,
it's not my wish.
With the way that offense is, I mean that team's been cursed with all the injuries and stuff, and then taking account that he's in that division, the AFC North. I don't know. Don't do that to this man. He goes to the Browns in the AFC North. He's going to deal with the Steelers, Bengals, and the Ravens. Yeah, they got pieces on the offense, but it's like no. And Cleveland Cold is different, bro. Resign Jameis and let Jameis go through that fire if you're going to take Shador.
My wish is for him to go to the Patriots, but I can't believe that we're still talking about this kid being a number like a top pick. I think Dion has probably sat down with him and say, son, any influence that I possibly could have had, or you going over a place, you've lost by your play. Like, because if you watch the tape on the kid, you would have to be the biggest idiot in professional sports to draft this guy in the first round and think he's your franchise quarterback. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't get it. But hey, all power to Cleveland. If you want to try it, I will fade him every week in the bet market and make my money, man. You guys do your thing.
Oh, Mike killed
those Giants cleats that he got. He can get some brown sandals because as a third stringer, you ain't gonna need cleats, my friend.
He won't be a third string on the Browns.
Yeah, that's true. I forget. Yeah, that's a good point. You
got DTR.
Yeah.
And Jameis might not even be there if they don't resign him.
Good point.
Third pick, we already know who this is at this point. Travis Hunter going to the New York Giants. Now, if this actually happens, as bad as they need a quarterback, him and Neighbors will go crazy.
Who's throwing the ball?
But that's the thing.
Are you sure he's playing wide receiver?
I mean, that's another thing I was going to say. He might not even play wide receiver, but if he was, who's throwing the ball? I mean, you can go get you Sam Darnold.
Did you watch the game Sunday night?
I mean, yeah, I did watch the game, but you can get Sam. I think Sam can do okay. I ain't gonna say Kurt, but Kurt could work actually.
Nah.
I know Kurt. I mean, Kurt did start 6-3, and they probably would have been better off in those other games after that. That defense could stop a nosebleed, and Young Haku could make a field goal. So, I mean, Kurt won't be the worst option.
Might as well get Shador if that's the case. You can throw screen passes to Malik and Travis all day. Come on now. And Sam Darnold, he sees ghosts in that building, man.
My boy thought he ate on that. That was a good one. But now, I'll let you hear you guys' thoughts on this.
It's honestly, it's kind of a bad pick for what they need, honestly. The Giants can go any other way. But I mean, they lose out on their quarterback pretty much because they got to be taking one of these guys, to be honest. But I don't like it. I think Travis Hunter, I mean, it's not worse than Cleveland, I would say, but I think Travis Hunter is better off somewhere else.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Mike, any last thoughts?
Nah, I don't know what the Giants are going to do. This is, to be honest, this is a really bad draft to have a high pick because even if you want to trade out of it, like, yeah, Hunter's great talent, phenomenal, but short of him, if you're looking to trade that pick, I don't know how many teams are going to fall in love with any players at any of these positions. So it's tough to trade out. And with the Giants, you need a quarterback. You're looking at the free agent market. There's not much there. I get on the phone with the Patriots and pick up Joe Milton if I'm any team. What he showed, if they want to keep Drake May over him, I don't know what they're doing. He showed more in that game than Drake May has all season, in my opinion.
And what did he show?
He showed superior arm strength to May, first off.
But we knew that already.
Yeah, well, we already know he's physical ability. He's probably one of the best physical talents in the NFL. He just struggled with accuracy in college, but he showed the accuracy has been fixed. I understand he's playing against backups and stuff, but you look where the throws are and everything. That's not what we saw in college. And if he has that fixed, he can be a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
Top 3?
Top 3. There's nobody that has those physical talents that plays that position in the NFL that he does. He was supposed to be the next guy coming out of high school, but he lost that in college because of his accuracy.
You're losing me, Mike, with top 3, but I agree with the talent. I would love to have Joe Milton starting for other reasons. But
Not with that owner.
Yeah. We're not gonna talk. As of the firing of Gerard Mayo, I am no longer a Pats fan. I'm going to just put that out there from now. I was gonna wait till the next NFL show, but I'll just say it from now. I will support some of the players that I do like on that team, like a Christian Gonzalez, Baltimore. But as a Pats fan, nah, you can miss me with that BS. That was Bush League what they did, and Lord forbid me if they go get Mike Vrabel and they have a similar season, because then what's going to be the excuse? So
I heard they
we
just got.
We ain't gonna get on that. That's for the next NFL show.
I heard they just got a contract with Real American Beer.
Anyway, the fourth pick, I would say my Patriots, but I love this pick for the Patriots because we get Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle from Texas. This is a perfect pick. If not him, Will Campbell. I love Will Campbell, but I'm not mad at Kelvin Banks Jr. at 4. This is why I wasn't mad about being at 4, because you kind of get what we really need. Because as much as I would love to have Travis, we don't really need Travis. We really need an O-line. The same way y'all just told me who's going to throw it on the ball if he goes to the Giants. Who the hell is going to be able to give Drake May time to throw Travis the ball if he's on the offense for us? We ain't got no O-line. So I'll let you guys' thoughts on Kelvin Banks going to the Patriots.
Perfect pick for the Patriots, honestly. They honestly can't mess up at 4 because I believe the first 3 picks are going to be wild. You'll be surprised. But yeah, I think honestly, offensive line is the biggest priority with the receiver. They're probably not going to get a receiver in the free agency because I don't see a top receiver going there. So might as well start at the offensive line and take the best offensive line player in this draft, in my opinion. So perfect for them.
Yeah.
Mike?
So I've heard that I don't know how true this is, but I've heard Will Campbell has small arms for his body. So that's one reason why they're probably leaning towards Kelvin Banks, whoever made this mock draft. But I find it honestly hard to believe that the Patriots are going to draft an O-lineman. They've missed on so many wide receiver picks. They're going to get one, say, oh, we found the quarterback. And according to Kraft, we have 2 quarterbacks, which I agree. But they're keeping, which this is really mind-boggling to me. And supposedly a lot of people think he's going to get fired after the draft. The Elliott Wolf is still on because he found 2 quarterbacks in the draft. The rest of his draft was utter garbage and sucked. So I don't know why they have
the jury's still up for Javon Baker.
Yeah, but still, that's 3 guys. Did they take 8, 9 guys? Like, I don't know. It's just
I can't name you the rest of their picks outside of Polk, Baker, May, Milton. I can't remember the other picks.
Yeah, there was an offense. That's what I'm saying. I don't see how you can keep him even for the draft. Once you get that coach, have him bring in his own guy, and that's not what it sounded like. It sounds like it's going to be a shotgun marriage, just like that's been happening in Tennessee. And you might lose Mike Vrabel because of that if you're a Patriots fan. So I don't know what they're going to do, to be honest with you. But I honestly think they're just going to go with a wide receiver to say, hey, we finally got one right, and Bill never got it right, but now we did.
The Patriots also interviewed. I think they're trying to interview Ben Johnson. If they haven't already,
Friday they are,
as well as the DC for the Lions. I can't remember his name.
Aaron Glenn. Yeah,
Glenn.
They can't interview them in person until another week and a half from now, but they can do virtual interviews with them. And then today they interviewed Byron Leftwich and I can't remember the other guy's name.
Yeah, both black head coaches.
Yeah, they're trying to bypass the Rooney rule.
Yeah, that's all that is. I'm like, Byron Leftwich, you're not hiring him, so we can just move on with this. The 5th pick, we have Mason Graham from Michigan, D lineman, going to the Jags, and then one of the best corners in this draft, arguably the best corner, Will Johnson, going to the Raiders at 6 for Michigan, And now they got T-Mac falling. Oh, Lord. We're going to have to start with that first. This is exactly what the Jets need. The Jets are projected to get T-Mac from Arizona at the 7th pick. So you guys can start anywhere between 5 and 7. But the Jets getting T-Mac is the most stupid. That might be worse than what the Giants might do, if I'm going to be honest with you. Unless they know they're going to move Garrett Wilson. But I'll let it hear you guys' thoughts on this. On these 5 through 7 picks.
Yeah, I think Mason Graham, I like him, honestly. So I think that's a solid pick for Jacksonville. They just got to hope Trevor Lawrence bounces back. But yeah, they need to build up that defense. This is the perfect pick. Now, Will Johnson, arguably the best corner in this draft. The problem is the Raiders never have success with drafting corners. So this kind of surprises me. So I don't want it to ruin his career. So I'll honestly, I hope he doesn't go to Las Vegas. I actually hope he drops a little down, because I think there are better teams that fit perfectly. Because he's not going to make the Raiders playoff contenders overnight. But I fear they're going to ask him to do too much, because their secondary is not good. Now, McMillan to the Jets, this could mean one or two things. They know Rodgers is gone, so they want to get rid of Devontae Adams. They probably not going to get what they spent on him, but they could get a little something. So honestly, adding a second receiver with Garrett Wilson.
And they still got Alan Lazar, I believe, too.
No, Lazard will be gone as well.
Yeah. The Rodgers Country Club is over.
Yeah. Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, they added it. So honestly, they probably got to build fresh on their receivers. So I don't mind this pick. But right now, obviously, they have Aaron Rodgers, they have Devontae Adams. So this looks like a surprising pick. But as we get closer, don't be surprised. We might be looking at it as the steal of the draft, especially when there's other teams ahead that also kind of do need a wide receiver.
That's very true. But Nick Nash will still be available, so I ain't mad at that. Mike, before you go real quick, because you're gonna love this breaking news with this clip. Dion did an interview recently with $1 million worth of game. Shout out to $1 million worth of game, Gilly and Wallow. Deion Sanders was just on their show. He did a episode with them, and he mentioned that Mike's gonna eat this up. I would coach in the NFL if I could coach both of my sons, plural. This was posted about an hour ago. So Mike, you've been saying it. Now it seems like it wouldn't be a shock if he end up going to the NFL and getting both of his sons, plural. So
yeah, I think he has the potential to be a great coach in the NFL, but he's nowhere near that yet. But look at the guys he has around him in Colorado to help him out. I think he needs at least 5 years of the college game before going to the NFL. So I think if he's doing that, he wants to, and because I can tell you, in his deep down, he knows his son is not what he's hyped up to be. So if he can ensure them jobs, as any father would do, because I'm not going to fault him for it. If I can get my name there as coach, do it. So, hey, all power to him if he can do it. But I just don't think he's anywhere near that yet. But but I think he will be in the future. As for these 3 draft picks, though, the Jags, I could see them taking T-Mac. They need wide receivers.
They just need one.
Yeah, that's true.
They got a dog in BT.
That's true.
Then you got Evan Ingram, and you still got Kirk on probably like one more year or so. So, and then now with the emergence of BT, you might not even need Kirk to do as much. So that might help him health wise.
Yeah. The other thing is too is we don't know who the coach is going to be there either, and I think that's honestly probably the least attractive job. Maybe if you're lucky, you get a Mike McCarthy and poach him for Dallas, but I don't really like have anyone in my mind that say, "Oh, I'm going to go to Jacksonville." But seeing I'm on that, I'll go to the Raiders now. My pick for the Raiders is Brian Flores for the coach, and Will Johnson. He'll go perfect in his defense. Aiden O'Connell, he's probably, other than Cam Ward, I don't think you can get a better quarterback in the draft or like even free agency. I'm not all that high on Sam Darnold, and I don't know what he can do outside of Minnesota. So I don't know if you could get an upgrade at quarterback for him this year. I think with Flores, with his defensive scheme, he gets a good defensive guy. They can make it work. And yes, I believe they could be a playoff team that quickly in Vegas because I think they could have done it with Antonio Pierce too.
In that division in the AFC West, the way those three teams made the playoffs,
they had cupcake. Yeah, they had cupcake schedules this year, and I think Antonio Pierce would have been able to do a much better job if they built it like Detroit and he had the right coordinators around him, but they gutted all the coordinators at Thanksgiving, and that didn't help him at all. And then you had the Devontae Adams stuff in the beginning of the year. As for the Jets, I'm okay with them drafting T-Mac. They should probably go get some offensive linemen personally, and I think if you can't, yeah, something like that. If you can't get a significant upgrade, I know I trolled with saying Kirk Cousins in the chat, our group chat, but that actually might happen. I just roll out Tyrod Taylor. In my mind, he's an upgrade over Aaron Rodgers. Like 1.9 QBR and 3/4 against the Bills. Give me a break.
Mike, you gonna love this. This is music to your ears too. They get Will Campbell. Tom Brady helps because they said he's going to be heavily involved with the coaching process. They get Brian Flores. Call up New England, go get Joe Milton.
I want Miami to get Milton. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh,
so that's not music to my ears.
You don't want to help your Dolphins, your sorry ass Dolphins. Hell
you can have Tyreek.
Hey, he'll be great. I'm not helping you. What?
You can have him, man. I want Joe Milton.
Your Dolphins. I don't know. Go. Hey, like I said, Joe Milton, go up to Las Vegas. Don't go to Miami. Everything's better in Vegas than it is Miami.
That's true.
I'm lying. True. But
depends on what you're into.
Hey now. This is sports and entertainment. Nah,
yeah. I was gonna say Vegas is the entertainment capital of the United States. So,
but we're gonna move on to the next 3 picks. We're gonna move along through this and then do our predictions. 8 through 10 because 11 can barely fit. We have Abdul Carter, edge rusher from Penn State, going to Carolina. I love this pick. You got Michael Williams, edge rusher from Georgia, going to New Orleans. And then you got Will Campbell still at 10 going to the Bears. So the Bears can sit pretty and still get the offensive tackle that they need. I might be able to squeeze in 11. Yeah, I can actually. Then we have 11, Jalon Walker, Georgia edge rusher, going to the 49ers now. So you guys don't have to touch base on all 4, but out of these 4, who stands out the most on the pick? And then we can move through this a little quickly.
Well, I mean, Will Campbell stands out because this is a perfect pick for the Bears because that's exactly what they need. The problem is they might not get him.
Yeah, I don't know if he gets at 10.
Because the only way they get him is if Banks drops. Because as soon as if the Patriots and when the Patriots take Banks, that's top 5. So you're going to see a team that needs an offensive line either trade up or honestly, you can see any of these teams ahead of you take a lineman. Because if Abdul Carter gets taken and McMillan gets taken, Carolina might as well go offense at that point and go grab a Will Campbell. Because that's also something they need. But, I mean, if this was to happen, it would be perfect for Caleb Williams, but I don't see it happening.
Mike?
Yeah, so the Panthers pick. I would, if that kid from Michigan back that I believe they had the Raiders draft, and I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but if they go to get him, I think they need that because they need help against the run game and the pass game both. I don't know how much an edge rusher is, more of like a D tackle personally. So either a tackle or in the secondary, I think Carolina would need help with. As for the Saints, we'll see who gets the coaching job there. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep Darren Rizzi. But for the Saints, yeah, I'm cool with them getting an edge. They probably Will Campbell would be a good fit there too with their O line because I know they got Caesar Ruiz, I believe, still, but I don't know that for sure. And then the Bears. This also depends on who's the coach. Don't be surprised if you see Ben Johnson or Mike McCarthy there. I would not be surprised if Mike McCarthy went back to the North and they plucked him from Dallas. But if they get Ben Johnson, I could definitely see Will Campbell being drafted there, but Ryan Poles, the McCluskeys, and one other advisor that they have in there. They have 3 different opinions, I heard, of how they're going to handle this coaching search. So I can tell you right now, this isn't going to go good regardless. And then for San Francisco, I think personally, you probably want to go for some offensive lineman before you get an edge. I understand we talked about this last week how they might want to replace Nick Bosa, but Trent Williams, I know he had some things happen with his family and he had some injuries this year, but you saw the difference in play when he wasn't in. Maybe even a middle linebacker too when Greenlaw was out. Maybe if Fred Warner goes someplace. So there's a lot of holes that could be filled over there in San Francisco.
Absolutely. We're going to go through 12 to 15. Let me see. Yep. So we got Jahad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama, going to the Cowboys. We got Nick Scorton, edge rusher, Texas A&M, going to Yo Dolphins. You got Malachi Starks, I believe it's still 14. I think he was 14th last week, going to the Colts out of Georgia. And then you have James Pierce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee, which they need desperately in Atlanta. Out of these 4, who you guys think stands out the most as far as fit goes?
Yeah, you already said it. Pierce literally is the need for Atlanta. And if he drops to them, that's perfect. Or even if those picks were to swap and Nick drops to Atlanta, I still think it would be perfect. Colts getting Starks. They do need that secondary help. But the Colts, there's a lot of questions surrounding the Colts. Honestly, I don't know what they will do with this pick. Dallas getting Campbell. Dallas getting Campbell. We'll see. Because I can see Jerry and Dallas trading back. And I still, for some reason, I still feel like Genty is going to be a Dallas Cowboy, in my opinion.
Okay. I think I can see that happening too.
Yeah, I agree with you guys that's the Falcons definitely. I think the Falcons should also look at possibly in all of these teams at D tackle. That's what Dallas needs the most is D tackle. Yeah, they could take Genty, but if you can fill that D tackle position and get Scatterbo or even Devin Neal from Kansas in the second round, yeah, I'd do that. Miami. You just drafted Chop Robinson. You have Bradley Chubb coming back, who didn't play this year. You got him. I believe Jalen Phillips. I don't think he's a free agent this year. He might be next year. You do not need an edge. You need to get offensive linemen. Just even if you want to go out and get Tez Johnson to replace Tyreek Hill, if you absolutely need that second receiver, Malik Washington's came up good. Offensive lineman, receiver. You do not need an edge if you're Miami. The Colts also, They need D tackle. Look at the teams; they can run all over them. Like you can't get you should still see what you can do with Anthony Richardson. If Alex Van Pelt does get fired from the Patriots, which I think he will, because he hasn't officially yet, call up Alex Van Pelt and bring him in there to develop Anthony Richardson. Because look at what people think Drake May has progressed. I don't, but look at Joe Milton. If you watched him in college, from what we've seen in the preseason and last game, he can develop quarterbacks. Just don't make him your coordinator. Make him your quarterbacks coach, and try to have him develop Richardson. Don't give up on him. And they just need a D tackle. And for the Falcons, yeah, he's good at edge. D tackle for them too. And because Judon needs some help there on the other end.
Judon might be washed, low key.
He was good at the beginning of the year, though.
Yeah, that's what I said. Low key, he might. We're gonna go through 16 through 19. Whoa, 19's interesting, but we're gonna start 16 because they won't let me cut him off. 16th, the Cardinals got Kenneth Grant, D lineman. You have Princely Uman Milan, edge rusher for Ole Miss, going to the Bengals, which they definitely need help on the defense. Luther Burden, the third wide receiver from Missouri. And then with 19 now, he fell down. Sean Genty going to the Houston Texans. You guys can take it away with these four.
Number one thing, if Seattle was able to land Luther, automatically the greatest wide receiver trio. As long as DK can stay on the field and not be an idiot. I think them three together
will be nasty.
That is nasty. And if you're a quarterback, because there's a lot of talk about them trying to step away from Geno. If you're a free agent quarterback, or you're a quarterback that wants out of your team, Seattle's obviously going to be at the top of the list.
That's coming from a Rams fan, by the way.
Yeah, honestly. Now the Genty to Houston.
Interesting, right? Because they got Joe Mixon.
You got a Goombawale too.
Well, I like him too.
They're literally still holding on to Dameon Pierce. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, I don't get it. If I'm Houston, I'll probably, honestly, if I'm Houston and Luther doesn't get picked by Seattle, I would go him. Because we know Tank Dell situation. They're trying to get Mechie involved. They pretty much just use Robert Woods as a veteran. I think they kind of do need a receiver more than a running back, I would say. But yeah, that's just me.
Mike, I don't know if you noticed, but and you correct me if I'm wrong, but last week when we did this at 18, it was not Luther. It was actually the tight end from.
I believe you're right.
Yeah, Tyler Warren
from Michigan.
It wasn't from Michigan. Yes, the tight end from Michigan.
Yeah, Loveland.
So I don't know. We're gonna see, but we're gonna look because I think Tyler was 22. If I'm not mistaken, last week.
I believe you said too last week because Ashton Genty wasn't there, and you said he was a possibility to Houston, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember if I said
to back up Nixon. I think so. I don't know that for sure though.
But yeah, he definitely fell from last week's picks. Yeah. But you can go ahead, Mike, and talk about whichever four you want.
Yeah, for Arizona defensive lineman, good pick. You need some help for Buda Baker. I think Gannon's a good coach there. Anywhere on the defense would help him because the defense has been good, but they don't really have those big names. So just bring in whatever you can. The Bengals, total joke what's going on there. I understand they fired Lou Anarumo, and it's not because of the defense he drew up. It's because of his defensive drafting. But Zach Taylor should be gone too. He's the Mike McDaniel of the AFC North. The guy's not going to do anything in my opinion.
He got to a Super Bowl though, Mike.
Yeah, I was going to say McDaniel put up a great offense too. It don't mean nothing. Yeah. There's no way you should go 9-8 with that roster. No way.
He was a sack away from a Super Bowl championship.
I understand that, but still, there's no way you should go 9-8 with that roster and that offense, especially when you're an offensive guy. But yeah, Bengals definitely need help on defense, and possibly them drafting Luther Burden, Tez Johnson, Nick Nash, because who knows if T. Higgins or Jamar Chase will be there next year. I assume Jamar will. I don't know about T though, because they have the same age now.
There's been some talks that Burrow had sit down with the front office, I think with T and Jamar, or just by himself, about how to figure out to get the money situated for all three parties to stay. Burrow wants Chase and T in Cincinnati, and I don't blame him, because if he don't got him, I want to see what he can look like when Josh Allen and Lamar don't have weapons.
So remember, this is the same franchise that was selling used TVs in the summer. So let's see if they actually pay them. That's to be determined.
Anyway, Mike.
So Seattle, yeah, I think you can get Luther Burden. That's great, but I think with McDonald being a defensive guy, they'll probably go defensive side of the ball. But I think a tight end would be more of a necessity over Luther Burden with having JSN and DK, and then Houston. Yeah, and Tyler Lockett too, definitely. With Houston, they need offensive linemen, man. Don't go out and waste your pick on Ashton Jeanty. He's a great talent, but you need offensive linemen for Stroud.
Sure. Pick 20. Oh, so there he goes. So he fell from 18 to 20. Yeah. Colston Loveland out of Michigan, the tight end going to the Broncos. I actually love that pickup with the way Sean's having that offense look. You got Shamar Stewart, D lineman, going to the Buccaneers, Texas A&M D lineman. I think I was wrong. I think Warren was 24 then, because the Steelers are at 22. Now they have Jade Barrington, cornerback out of Texas. And then at 20, no. Hell no. No.
Don't worry, it's not going to happen.
If Ty gets Tyler Warren, I'm not going to hear the end of this shit. No. Hell no. No. Hey. Damn it. No. I can't deal with Ty enough with Puka and Cooper and Kyron. You give Matthew Stafford another tight end, and you know Matthew loves his tight end. Oh my God. No. But they have Tyler Warren going to the Rams. I'll let you guys take it away.
I mean, it's only right. Because honestly, last year, before they settled on their Jared Verse pick, they wanted to trade up to get Brock Bowers. But the Jets wouldn't budge, didn't want to trade their pick. That's why they didn't end up with Brock Bowers. That's why they went to go pay Parkinson in the offseason while waiting for Higbee to come back. They do honestly need a tight end because the tight end production just hasn't been there. None of these guys can block. The best block is Higbee, and he can, kind of block. So I think it's perfect. But like you said, Mike, I don't think he's dropping this far, in my opinion. It also depends who pretty much everyone thinks is the tight end one in the situation. Because if they believe Colston's the tight end one, as soon as he goes, you're going to see teams that desperately need a tight end trade up right after to go select him because it's a no-brainer. They're not going to let him drop into a perfect situation with a great offense, which he can be that missing piece.
Yeah, this is not going to happen, and I think the Rams will get a tight end, but you got to flip these two tight ends. We got to remember, Warren can throw the ball and do everything just like Taysom Hill. Who had Taysom Hill in New Orleans? Sean Payton. He's going to take He's going to take Ward, and Colston Loveland will be going to the Rams. So these two are going to flip. I guarantee you, if these two guys are still on the board, they will both be taken just by opposite teams. And Steelers for cornerback, I think you need to go out and get an offensive line after the past few games. We'll see how it looks this weekend, and then the Bucks get a defensive lineman. I could see it, definitely.
Absolutely. We're gonna move right along. We have Siobhan Rebel Jr., East Carolina, going to the Packers. I actually like this for corner because Jair being hurt this year, they can definitely use it. Oh, so now the Chargers are picking Landon Jackson from Arkansas, the edge rusher. Okay, because Joey Bosa, he hasn't been the same. Khalil Mack has looked really good this year. Riante Ursi, the offensive tackle, Minnesota. I like this going to the Commanders. And then you got Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, going to Baltimore from Ohio State. So I'll leave it here. We get through these 4 names. Different though, I don't think Landon Jackson made the list last week, Mike.
No, definitely not. I would have remembered someone. I think it's a very memorable look to him.
Yo, you gotta chill, Mike. Landon Jackson's actually pretty solid. I watched a couple of his games in his career in the college. I actually remember when he committed. So.
Yeah, I'll go first, I guess. I like the corner pick for Green Bay because especially with this whole Jair Alexander thing, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not a Packer within the next 2 seasons because it seems like they're heading into a direction of just playing without him. Now, would I go get a corner who's coming off an ACL injury? Too risky, especially in that position and the transition from college to the NFL. Now, the 2 tackles for the Commanders and the Ravens makes perfect sense. Every other need they'll probably address in the free agency. So it makes sense to waste your picks on the O-line, pretty much. Now, Landon Jackson to the Chargers. I'm shocked, but now that I'm looking at it, he does look like a Chargers pick. Like this looked like a Jim Harbaugh pick, you know? Like, come on, just picture it. But yeah, that's pretty much.
All right, we're gonna move right along. I think we got the last few picks here. We have Emory Jones, offensive tackle. Emory Jones Jr., LSU offensive tackle, going to the Vikings. We have Trey Amos, corner from Ole Miss, going to the Bills, which is a good pickup.
It's almost Omas.
Omas. Oh, yeah. Right? And the Eagles, I'm kind of surprised by this pick. I actually wouldn't mind if they swap, but the Bills do need more help on defense and offense. Emeka Ibuka is going to the Eagles potentially. And the riches get richer, I guess, with this pick. What do you guys' thoughts on these 3 before we move to the last 2 picks?
Yeah, they better hope the Eagles do not make that pick because
if they do,
that sets the offense up for a couple years. And honestly, for Eagles fans that don't like Nick Sirianni, that might be perfect because if this offense can't produce, we know who to blame, you know. But that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Vikings for an offensive tackle. I think they got a pretty good group of guys there. I wouldn't be surprised if they go on the defensive side of the ball. They got a lot of Pro Bowls, but that I think has a lot to do with the scheme that Flores has there. And if he's not there, that might get exposed a little bit in the secondary. So for the Bills, they need all the help they can get on defense. Probably maybe even a middle linebacker because Milano seems to always be injured. Maybe even an edge rusher, and then I could see Buka going to the Eagles without a doubt. They got probably one of the best rosters in the NFL already. So especially that defense is solid with the addition of Mitchell and DeJean last year. So definitely I can see them going offensive side of the ball first round this year.
For sure. In the last two picks, you got the Chiefs getting Walter Nolan, D tackle from Ole Miss. And you have Talik Williams, Ohio State defensive lineman, going to the Lions. So that means they must assume, the Lions will get the last pick. They got the Lions winning the Super Bowl?
Yep.
I know the record has better than the Chiefs will have a better record, so that's what I assume. So that means they got the Eagles and
Lions in the NFC Championship, and then Chiefs and Bills.
Bills, yep. Well, that's wrong because we got Lamar, so it's okay. But what do you guys thought on the last two picks?
I mean, yeah.
If there's any thought,
this is honestly these two teams that don't need a lot. But if there's one position they do need, it is this position. So yeah, that's a no-brainer. I wouldn't be surprised if you see, we know how the draft goes. They can easily just trade out of their spot and just run it back with a team that they pretty much won the Super Bowl with. Seeing these are the clear-cut two favorites. But, I mean, if they take their picks, defensive line makes sense.
perfect.
Yeah, for the Lions, definitely got some backups for the defense. God forbid you have injuries happen like this year. And then for KC, I look at the secondary for them before I look at defensive line, unless you think Chris Jones is going to retire.
Fair enough. This is the current mock draft that CBS Sports has after the regular season. If you watch it, make sure you leave a comment down below, and leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave us your thoughts, man. What you think on this draft? Who you think got some steals? Which team might be able to come out with the best draft in the first round at least, and etc. Moving right along, we're going to get into our predictions for the semifinals. So first game we're going to give our predictions to, and we're going to basically do our picks. So before we get right into the picks, man, again, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Give you guys great content weekly. And without further ado, man, we're going to get right into the picks. Let's do it.
We're just doing two college football playoff games today. If you want to comment on our picks, leave a comment in the comment section. I'll be uploading them after because I got the chat right now for myself faces. But first game we got is Notre Dame against Penn State in the Orange Bowl.
Ooh, look how I had that set up, Mike.
Well, I didn't even look at this, and I just went for that game. It's good.
I had this already ready. I just that was going to be the first game, and I was like, "Word, that was perfect."
Yeah, so Notre Dame's -1.5 and Penn State's +1.5. I have Notre Dame -1.5, and Peso has Notre Dame straight up. As I said earlier, I'll take Marcus Freeman over James Franklin any day of the week.
I'm going Notre Dame straight up.
I'm actually going Penn State straight up.
All right.
Fair enough.
Sounds good. Then the next game we got is Cotton Bowl Classic. That'll be at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. And we have Ohio State -6 against Texas. Peso has Ohio State straight up, but I'm going to go Texas straight up on this one just because, not that I don't think Ohio State's the better team. I just I'm curious to see if they play at the same clip they have been the past 2 weeks.
I got Ohio State straight up.
I got Ohio State straight up.
All right. You can have clips send me as picks when you want to talk to Musa too, so we can put those in the comments as well. And that's it for we'll pick the playoff games when we're back on Saturday.
Sounds good. That's going to conclude this week's episode. Everyone else watching, thank you again for tuning in. We're going to give you guys another episode Saturday morning instead of Sunday because of the playoffs for the NFL. So it'll be on Saturday morning at 11:15, like our usual time that we will meet on Sundays. Then stay tuned. We got basketball back and up and running on Mondays at 6:30, and we're back here next Wednesday for college football at the same time, 6:30. Again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave a like, a comment. Please comment down below. Helps get more people's eyes on the product and on the show. Subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend and tell a friend. We're at about 8 subscribers from 200. We're trying to get that 200 subs so we can jump over to 3. So, again, have a great rest of your night. Stay warm. I know it's cold up here in the East Coast.
Yeah.
And have a wonderful night, man. We see you guys on Saturday. Peace.
Peace.
Great.